Jews represent less than 0.2% of the world's population. But when you analyze the lists of the richest people on the planet, you find a disproportionately high representation of this community. Coincidence? Absolutely not. Today, we're going to explore the real reasons behind this phenomenon, drawing on concrete data and analyzing the cultural values that have contributed to this extraordinary success. Let's start with the most shocking numbers. Mark Zuckerberg, founder of Facebook, has an estimated fortune of $118 billion. His story is fascinating because it began as a college student who created a social network from his dorm room at Harvard. What many don't know is that Zuckerberg comes from a family that deeply valued education and intellectual debate. His father was a dentist and his mother a psychiatrist, both professionals who instilled in him the importance of critical thinking and complex problem solving. Zuckerberg was raised in a Reformed Jewish family in Dobbs Ferry, New York, where he had his bar mitzvah at 13. Although he is not particularly religious, Jewish values of education, intellectual debate, and community responsibility were fundamental in his upbringing. George Soros, the legendary financial speculator, has amassed $8.6 billion. His story is particularly powerful because he survived the Holocaust as a teenager in Budapest. This traumatic experience, paradoxically, taught him invaluable lessons about the importance of adaptability, reading social and economic signals, and the need to always be prepared for dramatic changes. Soros developed what he calls reflexivity in financial markets, a theory that explains how investor perceptions can influence economic fundamentals, creating extraordinary investment opportunities. Soros was born to a secular Jewish family in Budapest and survived the Holocaust by seeking refuge with forged documents, an experience that profoundly shaped his understanding of the fragility of institutions and his subsequent commitment to promoting open and democratic societies through his massive philanthropy. The first crucial factor behind this success is education as a top priority. In Jewish culture, knowledge is not just valued, it's revered. From a young age, Jewish children are exposed to complex debates, critical analysis, and abstract thinking through the study of religious texts like the Talmud. This text is not simply religious. It is a compendium of legal, ethical, and philosophical debates that have lasted for centuries. Students learn to analyze multiple perspectives, construct logical arguments, and question established authorities. This tradition of intellectual debate and rigorous analysis translates directly to business skills. Warren Buffett, although not Jewish, has repeatedly mentioned how he admires the analytical mindset of many of his Jewish associates in the investment world. Benjamin Graham, considered the father of value investing and Buffett's mentor, was Jewish and established many of the fundamental principles of modern financial analysis. His book, Security Analysis, remains a seminal text for professional investors decades after its publication. Michael Bloomberg, the media mogul and former mayor of New York City, is worth $94 billion. His story is particularly instructive because it demonstrates how a traditional Jewish education can be applied to modern business. Bloomberg studied at Johns Hopkins University and Harvard Business School. But more importantly, he grew up in a family that emphasized accurate information and detailed analysis. These skills became the foundation of his media and financial empire, Bloomberg LP, which revolutionized how financial professionals access and analyze market information. Bloomberg grew up in a middle-class Jewish family in Medford, Massachusetts, where the values of hard work, education, and community service were central. Values he subsequently applied both in his business dealings and in his public service as mayor of New York City for 12 years. The second factor is the culture of calculated risk. Historically, Jewish communities have faced persecution and expulsion in multiple countries, forcing them to develop portable skills and international trade networks. This historical experience created a mindset where risk is carefully assessed, but not entirely avoided. Unlike cultures that completely avoid risk, Jewish culture teaches us to assess risks, mitigate them when possible, but also to accept that a certain level of risk is necessary for growth and survival. Michael Dell, founder of Dell Technologies and worth $50 billion, perfectly exemplifies this mindset. He began selling computers out of his college dorm room, taking calculated risks based on in-depth market analysis. His systematic approach and ability to identify opportunities where others saw obstacles reflect these cultural values. Dell didn't just build a technology company. He revolutionized the personal computer industry by introducing the direct-to-consumer sales model, eliminating middlemen and reducing costs. Dell was born into a Jewish family in Houston, Texas, where the values of education, innovation, and entrepreneurship were central. Although he left the University of Texas to found his company, he always maintained the Jewish principles of lifelong learning and social responsibility that he learned in his youth. The third fundamental element is networking and building strategic relationships. Jewish communities have historically developed extremely strong business networks. Lloyd Blankfein, former CEO of Goldman Sachs, built his career understanding that in business, relationships are as important as numbers. His ability to navigate complex relationships and build trust with international clients reflected decades of Jewish tradition in international trade. David Solomon, current CEO of Goldman Sachs, continues this tradition of leadership based on strategic relationships, but has also modernized the firm to meet 21st century challenges. Blankfein grew up in a working-class Jewish family in Brooklyn, where the values of hard work, education, and community were core, while Solomon also comes from a Jewish family and has maintained strong connections to the Jewish community throughout his career on Wall Street. Larry Ellison, founder of Oracle, is worth $115 billion. His story is unique in that he was adopted by his Jewish aunt and uncle in Chicago after his biological mother was unable to care for him. His adoptive parents, although not wealthy, instilled in him fundamental Jewish values: the importance of study, perseverance in the face of hardship, and the belief that through knowledge and hard work one can overcome any obstacle. Ellison dropped out of college twice, but never abandoned his passion for learning and innovating in technology. He was raised by Lewis and Lillian Ellison, his adoptive Jewish aunt and uncle, in Chicago's South Shore Jewish neighborhood, who instilled in him a strong work ethic and the importance of education. If you find this video helpful, please give it a like and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss our next content. The fourth crucial factor is a long-term mindset. Stephen Schwartzman, the founder of Blackstone and worth $37 billion, has built one of the world's most successful investment funds by applying principles of strategic patience and thorough analysis. His approach isn't about quick wins, but rather about creating sustainable, long-term value. Schwartzman understands that the best investment opportunities often require years of development and multiple economic cycles to fully realize. Schwartzman comes from a middle-class Jewish family in Philadelphia, where the values of education, discipline, and generational wealth building were central, and he has maintained strong connections to the Jewish community through his massive philanthropy, including significant donations to Jewish institutions and education-related causes. Leon Black, co-founder of Apollo Global Management, though he has faced personal controversy, built a $10 billion fortune by applying extremely sophisticated investment strategies. His ability to identify value in complex assets and restructure companies reflects the kind of analytical thinking that characterizes many successful Jewish investors. Black developed expertise in distressed debt investing, an area that requires extraordinarily detailed legal, financial, and operational analysis. Black was born into a prominent Jewish family in New York. His father, Eli Black, was a successful Jewish entrepreneur who built an empire in the food industry. Leon inherited both the financial acumen and the Jewish values of rigorous analysis and long-term wealth building that characterized many successful Jewish families. Now we talk about philanthropy, another distinctive element of Jewish culture. Michael Bloomberg has donated more than $12 billion to educational and public health causes. His philanthropic approach reflects a sophisticated understanding of how to create systemic impact. Bloomberg doesn't just donate money. He applies business principles to maximize social impact. George Soros has donated more than $32 billion through his Open Society foundations, focusing on promoting democracy, human rights, and social justice globally. This tradition of giving back is no accident. It is deeply rooted in the Jewish values of tzedakah, social justice, and communal responsibility. Mark Benioff, the founder of Salesforce and worth $10 billion, has revolutionized not only business technology, but also corporate responsibility. His focus on equal pay and corporate activism reflects how Jewish values can influence modern corporate culture. Benioff has implemented regular pay audits to eliminate gender disparities, taken public stances on controversial social issues, and redefined the role of corporations in society. Growing up in a Jewish family in San Francisco, where the values of social justice, tikkun olam, and communal responsibility were central, Benioff has upheld these Jewish principles throughout his career, becoming one of Silicon Valley's most socially active CEOs. Likewise, Sergey Brin and Larry Page not only founded Google, but have also invested heavily in scientific research and advanced technology. Their focus on solving complex problems and improving humanity through technology reflects the Jewish tradition of tikkun olam, repairing the world through innovation and knowledge. Their investments in Alphabet include projects such as autonomous vehicles, life extension, global internet access, and artificial intelligence, all focused on creating massive societal benefits. What can we learn from these patterns? First, education as a fundamental investment is not limited to formal education. It includes continuing education, intellectual curiosity, and a willingness to learn from failures and mistakes. Second, the importance of strong networks and trusting relationships extends beyond superficial networking to building mutually beneficial relationships based on real value. Third, a long-term versus quick-win mindset requires discipline and the ability to withstand short-term pressures. Fourth, analytical and critical thinking skills must be combined with the ability to make quick decisions when necessary. Fifth, social responsibility and community engagement are not just moral obligations. They're business strategies that create long-term, sustainable value. These patterns of success are not exclusive to the Jewish community, but they have been cultivated and passed down from generation to generation with remarkable consistency. Warren Buffett, Bill Gates, and other non-Jewish millionaires have adopted many of these same principles and strategic approaches. The difference is that these values are culturally institutionalized in the Jewish community, conveyed not only in business schools, but in family conversations, religious traditions, and social expectations. Wealth is not simply about accumulating money. It is about creating value, solving problems, and contributing to human progress. Successful Jewish entrepreneurs have consistently demonstrated that these cultural values can translate into extraordinary economic success while maintaining a commitment to social responsibility and community improvement. Their success is neither accidental nor exclusive. It is the result of centuries of cultural refinement of principles and practices that promote excellence, innovation, and social responsibility. Which of the principles discussed above do you think is most important? Do you know of any others? Let me know in the comments. And if you enjoyed today's video, don't forget to share it and subscribe to the channel for more content. See you next time.